Episode 4 picks up right after the kids attack the caravan of last men that were taking Gus and Tommy to God knows where. All of the kids adopt the name of their favorite animal, so the leader of the group is known as Bear. And she tells Gus, we're not here to hurt you, we're here to free you. You can go anywhere you want, just get away from him, and she points to Tommy. Bear then notices that Tommy's still alive, and she asks why. And Tiger says, well, he was tied up with Gus, and besides, nobody makes a move without your order, right? There's definitely a power struggle going on. So Bear gives the command to shoot Tommy, but when she does that, Gus ends up giving him a hug, getting in the way of both Tommy and the gun. And while this is unprecedented because they've never left a survivor, Bear decides to take them both back because they've also never met a hybrid who can talk. So they bring both of them back to the amusement park, but as they're distracting Gus with the glitz and the glamour of the place, they take Tommy elsewhere. Bear starts telling Gus how she started the animal army, and when you join it, you draw your animal on the wall. And he's taking this all in, but then he notices that he's doing so without his friend, Jep. And he says, where's Jep? And she tells him, don't worry, no one's going to do anything to him unless I give an order. She then takes him to the arcade part of the amusement park where all of the animal army are staring at Gus, amazed. And when he says hi, they go nuts. Bear proclaims that Gus is the king of the day, which means that all the kids line up and give him their favorite things, like gummy worms. And Gus then gets some backstory on the animal army, because the animal army is a lot like Gus's father. They don't believe that the hybrids brought along the sick. In fact, they believe the hybrids are curing the earth, because man was just busy destroying it. So they've made it their mission to protect the hybrids at all costs. Gus asks them, why aren't there any grown-ups here? And Bear says, well, grown-ups killed my family. Specifically, last men. Since then, they've learned how to take care of themselves. The distraction of Gus, though, continues when they take him to the bumper cars. And as he's having the time of his life, Tiger comes up to Bear and says, we're not going to be able to hold Tommy forever. He's really big. Why is he even alive again? And Bear asserts her authority once again, saying, do I have to remind you who's in charge? We need to figure out why a hybrid is so connected with his poacher. Until I figure that out, we're not doing anything with him. And shortly after that, Bear goes about trying to find the answer to that question. Through general conversation, Gus tells her that he's trying to get to Colorado to find his mom, and Jep was helping him do that. And she says, well, if Jep was helping you, why aren't you in Colorado now? And Gus reminds her, it's because we got caught. Remember, you saved us? He then shows her a picture of Birdie, and she has their tech guy comb the internet to try to find out any information about a birdie from Red Rocks, Colorado. She tries to extract some more information about Gus and Tommy's relationship, so she says that when she was his age, she used to get so excited to see another person that she would forget that there are bad people out there because she just wanted a friend. And Gus says, well, Tommy's my friend. And that's the last straw for Bear. She tells Gus, Tommy is a last man. He's the kind of guy that tried to take you. That's why you should stay with us. But instead of agreeing to it, Gus demands to see Tommy. So they take him to him. And Tommy is tied up and bound in another part of the park. And Bear asks Tommy, why didn't you tell Gus the truth about who you really are? And Tommy admits, yes, I was a last man, but I'm not anymore. People can change. And Gus is a little taken aback. He says, you were like those people in the market? Why didn't you just tell me that? And Tommy says, it's not that simple, kid. You guys don't remember what it was like when the sick hit. You had to choose sides. It was either kill or be killed. But Bear screams back at him, how many families did you break apart? How many kids like Gus did you make disappear? But Gus sticks up for Tommy. He tells her, Tommy's not like those people. He protected me. He bought me things he thought I'd like. He never tried to sell me. He tried to help me. And Tommy's a little surprised about this and says, kid, did you hear what I just said? Get out of here while you can. Go find your mom. But instead of doing that, Gus just gives Tommy a hug. And that's when Bear gives the order, take him away. But Gus freaks out at her, yelling, you promised. They end up taking Tommy, though, to another part of the park. And they have him tied up in front of a crate that has a tiger in it. The only thing keeping the tiger from Tommy is the crate door opening and the members of the animal army who are trying to hold the tiger back as much as they can. The whole animal army is pumped for this moment. And Bear raises her animal skull, which indicates to everybody to shut up. She starts to give a speech about how they're all there to execute Tommy for all the wrongdoings that he's done in his life, harming hybrids mainly. She then goes on to explain why everybody joined the animal army to protect hybrids. But then she decides to spare Tommy's life, and that does not sit well with Tiger and a few other members of the army. Tiger actually gives the command to open up the crate, and the actual tiger that's in the crate is trying to get freed up, although the members of the animal army are still holding the chains. Gus realizes that this is going to end really badly for Tommy any moment. So he hops down and gets in between the tiger and Tommy. And he asks the tiger, "Please don't hurt my friend." And then all of a sudden the tiger goes from being a very vicious animal to being very calm, getting back in the crate. And they just lock the crate back up. But the power struggle between tiger and bear has come to a head. It's got members of the animal army fighting amongst themselves. And when Tiger holds up her skull and everybody gets quiet, it's pretty clear that they've chosen a new leader, and it's no longer Bear. Now, during all of this, Gus was able to free Tommy, and the two were able to get out of there. And it turns out, Gus is not the only hybrid that can speak, because Amy ended up taking that hybrid pig in and raising her as her own. She gives her the name Wendy, and the two live at the zoo. When she's not tending to gardens and whatnot, Amy spends most of her time listening to the local radio. And that can be pretty dangerous because Wendy is a curious little girl. She overhears Wendy listening to the radio, and she starts asking questions about the last men that Amy doesn't really want to answer. She tells Wendy, "Go get ready because we're going to go shopping," i.e. they have to go into town to grab some supplies. But as they're coming back, they're almost caught by a patrol of last men. Luckily, though, they're not. They end up getting back to the zoo, locking it up, and they're safe. The next day, Wendy is actually listening to the radio, and she overhears a woman on the other end saying, "It's dying. It barely eats. We can't keep hiding it. We need to keep moving, but if the last men see this hybrid, we're dead. Somebody out there, please help." And Wendy's about to talk to her, but Amy intervenes. Amy has a stern rule about not talking on the radio. They then get ready for dinner. And then they go to bed, like any normal night. But they're awoken in the middle of the night when an alarm goes off that Amy has set up. So they start going out to investigate it. And there's a rustling in the bush. And Amy's about to shoot whatever is in that bush. But Wendy gets in the way saying, "No, don't. It's my friend, Bobby." And that's when a groundhog hybrid pops out from the bush. And this groundhog can actually talk a little bit, meaning he can say his own name. But at the behest of Wendy, Amy agrees to take Bobby in. And that's when Amy decides to take everybody in, making a radio broadcast telling the world everybody is welcome at the preserve. Now, over with Dr. Singh, he continues to go over the old research, but he refuses to give in to the methods that were used to find a cure. He's about to leave for work one morning, and he's extremely stressed out, and he tells Ronnie, "If I just get another month, I know I can crack this." But she tells him, "We've been over this. The doctor's notes are unequivocal. We need a living hybrid." And deep down, Dr. Singh knows that she's right. So he says goodbye to her, he grabs his saddle, and he gets ready to head off. But that nosy neighbor Karen ends up seeing him and points out a purple flower that is sprouted from their lawn. He ends up killing it, saying how sometimes these things just pop up. But she is the wrong neighbor that you want seeing such a thing. She then asks where Ronnie is, and Dr. Singh lies to her and says, "Oh, Ronnie's sleeping in. Last night was our anniversary and we opened up some Marlowe." And then he heads off to work. When he gets there, he starts looking over some of the research, and he's going over the recipe that's needed to create the current iteration of the treatment. He then goes into a cabinet and grabs a flare gun and pulls out the flare that says secret sauce. And he fires it into the sky, and he waits for the shipment to arrive. When he gets home from work that day, he's surprised to see Karen talking to Ronnie. And the reason that Karen wanted to talk to Ronnie is because she wants to institute weekly tests for the sick, including randomized testing. And that's something that Dr. Singh doesn't want to do. They, quote, agree to disagree, saying that it'll go up to a vote. But when Karen mentions to Ronnie about their anniversary, and it's obvious that Ronnie has no idea what they're talking about, it forces the Singhs to come clean with the woman. But she doesn't handle it well at all, yelling at them that they're liars, that she knew something was up, and they're trying to explain that they might have a cure for this thing, but she doesn't want to hear it. She just wants to expose them. And as she's trying to get out of there, Dr. Singh's horse ends up kicking her and killing her. And initially, the doctor in Dr. Singh tries to revive her, but Ronnie gives him a look like, "No, don't, because if you do, she's just going to rat us out." So they drag her body back into their house and lock the door. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought this sucked. Make sure to be nice in the comment section. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen there, I'll get it up in a few days, not to worry. And I have merchandise, so go buy a mug or something. It's never too early to think about Christmas gifts, folks. Once again, thank you for checking out this recap.